Yeah, right. I got a question sent in about working with anxiety with clients. And so when I teach and when I talk to even my students or my clients about anxiety, when I'm looking at someone, I kind of look into what they're actually feeling and what they're experiencing. So for me, there's anxiety and generalized anxiety where we have a brain, and this brain has different parts and different compartments. And I think of the brain as like a heart or another organ. If a part of the brain is not functioning properly, it's not getting enough oxygenated blood or not firing properly, parts of the brain end up getting behavioral problems. Like there's one part of the brain that if it's not, working correctly, it can give people like an opposition disorder. Like you'll see people that say no all the time. It's quite destructive. It's the same with the frontal lobe. When it's not kind of firing, or there's not enough oxygenated blood, you have things like, attention problems. So there are things that happen. So the brain, of course, is an organ. And when, things aren't working properly, you do get behavioral stuff. Whereas, the heart might not pump properly. So there is brain stuff going on. But when I see people with, more like the anxiety, that's actually a problem with the brain. I see people with levels of anxiety that's always there. It's not triggered. It doesn't come and go. It doesn't come when I think about, when I think about going into town, I feel anxious. To me, this is something different. So to me, full-on generalized anxiety is something that's always there. And if you take the anxiety meds, it goes away. They help because it is the brain that's needing support. When I see people that get anxious because of going to town, or when I think about the past, I feel this. To me, this is a memory problem. There are memories that through our lives that we have that in time situations happen and our brain goes into overwhelm, and that memory gets scattered and it gets put into our feeling or our brainstem and our nervous system. And so those memories still fire up like other memories. But when these memories fire up, instead of you getting a picture, a thought, or an idea, it actually sends a signal down your nervous system that feels like anxiety. And now these memories, they can be shifted really quickly. Like we know now that these memories, when they open up, the brain analyzes whether or not we're safe. And so if when that memory opens up, we can get the client to close your eyes and breathe in and think of a loving feeling or person, we know that the brain will release oxytocin, which will then tell that memory that it's now safe and move it from the nervous system, the brainstem. And it's called memory reconsolidation. It will move the brain to a place where, it doesn't have that feeling or that sense anymore. And so for me, there's two kinds of anxiety. So the generalized, I know I'm speaking very quickly now, the generalized, which is a brain thing, and meds help. It's always there. It's this underlying level of anxiety. And then we have the anxiety that's triggered. Like I said, when I think about going into town, when I think about my ex or whatever, I feel this anxious feeling. To me, those are memories playing up. They're called implicit memories. They're memories that are stored in the feeling part of our brain and send messages down to our body to keep us safe. Once again, they can be shifted. We can do memory reconsolidation, trigger the person, and while that memory is open, create an experience that releases oxytocin and tells the brain that memory is not unsafe anymore, and it shifts it from that part of the brain. And then, of course, we've got the third thing that I listened for, and this is anxiety due to low dopamine. And this is a really interesting one. I see clients, and the clients may come in and they say, like, I have anxiety, and it comes in waves, and it's quite a really strong wave. And sometimes I hear women say, I get anxiety, and then they'll say things like, at nighttime, I need to eat sugar. And for me, when your dopamine drops and gets low, it presents in a feeling that is so similar to anxiety. And the way you can know whether it's anxiety or being triggered is that if you have this anxious feeling come up and you go into the kitchen and you have some caffeine, some sugar, a stimulant, then what actually happens is that anxious feeling will go away instantly. And then you know it's not anxiety, it's actually you need dopamine. Your dopamine's dropped. Very common in people with ADHD. ADHD will present in anxiety because it's one of the symptoms that come when your dopamine is low. And like I said, if you are feeling anxious and you go and have a stimulant like some caffeine or sugar, a piece of cake, and it goes away, then you know that it's actually a dopamine thing. So when I'm working with people with anxiety, I'm looking at that. How is the anxiety presenting? Is it always there? Is it triggered? Or is it more of this like ADHD type anxiety? So anyway, that was a question for one of my students. If you have any questions, man, send them through.